call the meeting of the Ethics Commission to order. We'll start with a roll call. J.D. Sanford,
Here.
Cassie Anderson,
Here.
Mario Perez,
Here.
Paul Hill,
Here.
Nicole Cloutier here, Nancy Fahey,
Here.
and Mike Rubson.
Here.
Okay. Now we'll move on to item 2, approval of the minutes. Is there any discussion or on the minutes? Everyone should have received a copy. And if no discussion, we get a motion to approve.
I make motion to approve the minutes as presented.
And I second.
Thank you. So the minutes have been approved for the March 12th, 2025 Ethics Commission meeting. Now we move on to agenda item number 3, citizen comment period. The Ethics Commission welcomes comments from citizens. So if you're registered, you can speak with a 3-minute time limit. So we have one person who is registered. The committee calls Zach Hall. Yes. Please state your name and
Yeah. My name is Zach Hall. I live here in Kyle. First of all, I want to thank you all for serving on the Ethics Commission. I know it can be a stressful position to be in. I want to thank you all for your service. I just have a few things to say. I don't know anything about the merits of any of the complaints that have been filed. So I'm only talking about process and perception. And specifically, I'm focused on the complaint that was filed against Councilmember Zuniga. The process in that was unusual, in my opinion. Basically, at the special meeting, the city attorney said there was only going to be a process and there'd be no adjudication of guilt or innocence. Council went into special session, executive session, they came out, 5-0. They voted to moved to ask the city attorney to file a complaint on behalf of city council, 5-0. So because council did it in that way, it sort of created a perception that there had been an adjudication of guilt against Zuniga. And it was just odd to see. And the perception is really important because we're talking about a sitting council member. And the perception just strikes me as problematic because of the timing of everything, the publicity surrounding it, the way it was very publicly handled. And I just, from a perception perspective, it's problematic. Also, both complaints against Zuniga and by Zuniga, Mr. Sanford, I have a lot of respect for you. I think you're a good man. But I think the perception, because of the censure by KBAD against Councilmember Zuniga, I believe it creates a perception of bias. I'm not saying you would be biased, but that perception could be out there. So my understanding is the ethics attorney has said, you don't need to recuse yourself. I think you still could recuse yourself because of the possible perception of bias. And that would probably be, in my opinion, I don't know. I think it would look better if you recused yourself. I will say, again, that I do not know the merits of the complaints. I do not know anything about the merits. But I do know that it is very unusual for council members to be filing complaints against each other. And so it's very important, I think, for y'all as commissioners to study these complaints, to investigate these complaints in detail. Keep in mind, complaints are just that. They are not convictions, they are accusations. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty. Whoever Councilmember Zuniga filed the complaint against, innocent. Zuniga, innocent. It's y'all's job to determine the truth of the matter, And I know you all do a good job with that, so thank you.
Thank you. So the next person who's registered for public comment would be Howard Connor, I believe that's what. If you'll state your name and, for the record.
My name is Howard Connell. I've been in Kyle for 13 years. I want to do a takeoff on this last gentleman's comments. It's taken me 2 years to finally realize that talking to this podium here at the city council is a big waste of time. It took me 2 years to realize that they don't owe us anything because there's a process to adjudicate complaints, and you're it. So I look to you to enforce with integrity the letter of the law, not the spirit of the law. The charter allows for various sorts of consequences. So I expect that there be in the report that there's some sort of consequence, not just to just erase the thing like it never happened. I'm holding you to the letter of the law. You have a tough job. There's been a lot of dirty stuff going on in this town. I filed a complaint today against one of your members, okay? And I'm going to bring on more complaints because I found out this is the way to go. And in doing that, you all are going to be bearing your souls and your ethics in interpreting the complaints. Because I, along with other complaints, we have to quote, we have to do the heavy lifting. We have to make the allegation, then we have to point to the code, and you have to decide. So it's pretty black and white, I think. Also, there's a section in the charter of separation. So if I, for example, file an ethics complaint and I cite 4 sections in the code and 2 of them don't wash, that doesn't mean the whole thing goes away. It means it sticks with the remaining 2 or 1, whatever it may be. And I have zero public faith in our government in this city. Zero. You've probably heard me a lot of times complain about it. I'm very frustrated. I live my life very ethically. There's a cost to living ethically, and there's a cost to living non-ethically. And these folks up here took an oath. Everybody's taken an oath. Jesus in the Bible says, don't take an oath, because you take an oath to God, you wish you were never born. But he says, your yeses be yes and your noes be no. And I think that's really cool. So I ask you, I'm not going to say I want you to be fair or whatever. I'm going to assume you're adults. I'm going to assume you're here because you're good citizens. You want to make this city better. I'm just going to I have to rely on you. You're the last, you're the firewall, you're the Supreme Court. You're the end all when it comes to trying to clean this city up. And I hope you'll take my comments very seriously. And again, I thank you so much for being here. It's probably not a pretty job. Thank you.
If you'd like to, okay. You gotta. I'll need your paper. And the next person that I'll call is Yvonne Flores Kale. Okay, all right, well, we'll go ahead out of order. Angelita Tobias. If you'll identify yourself and speak.
Thank you. First of all, I'm Angelita Garza Tobias, and I thank you for the job that you have to do, and ethics is very dear to my heart, and I try to live as well as I can by that. But I thank you for what you're doing here, and all I ask is that all of you take this task that you have in front of you with integrity and not to be biased, and know that this is someone, and I don't need to know the particulars, but I do like to know the processes that the city has in place. And I asked myself, and I was here last week, and I think I talked to the dais, and I said, y'all look into your hearts and look in the mirror. If all of you, when you saw something not right, took the appropriate steps and the procedures that the city has in place, If you can sleep good at night, then you're doing the right thing. But if you're not, then you have a problem. So for you, ethics is important, and this community needs to have people that adhere to that, and that you all are taking this very serious. Now, Mr. Stanford, I know you're a good person, but being the fact that, and I don't do the Facebook stuff, but my husband does, and he says, oh, it's a mess. Think about it, sir, and my hope that you will be fair with this, and you won't let anything that is been roaming around the community influence you in any way or matter. And if you could feel it in your heart to step down for this particular thing, then it's up to you, sir. But I just want to ask you all, thank you for what you're doing, and whatever y'all decide, that sets a precedence for this community and for the diocese, that they follow the rules exactly as they're written, and they don't do one person one way, and oh, that's my friend over there, I'll let him slide with that. That is not what this community needs. Fairness, and across the board, everybody abides with the same rules. Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. All right, committee calls Yvonne Flores Kale.
All right, I want to thank you guys for your time. I'm going to begin by reading a post from the KBAD Facebook page written by Commissioner Sanford. Quote, "It looks like some people on other Facebook groups are engaging me personally over the censor vote. Their main complaint is that I serve on the Kyle Ethics Committee, and there is a complaint from Zuniga before the committee. They think the censor vote created a conflict of interest and I should recuse myself. Prior to the meeting, I asked the city ethics attorney if the censor would create a conflict of interest, and she said it would not. I expect to have a lot of hostile things said about me over the next few days. That's okay. Part of the responsibility of serving as chair of this club is being the focus of attention, good or bad. I'm proud of all the work we do in KBAD, and I will continue to work hard to do what is right. At minimum, this post poses a perception of impropriety, meaning it damages the trust of the residents and the integrity of this committee. I strongly urge each of you to think about J.D. Sanford's position on this committee and what it does or doesn't do for the relationship of those you serve. Now I want to share a personal story that underscores the importance of our roles in this room and the impact of our decisions and your decisions on the community we serve. Today, as I was driving home from picking my son up from school, he asked me what was for dinner. I explained to him that I was going to attend this meeting, which meant dinner would have to wait. In his typical fashion, he remarked about how I always seem to be involved in city matters. I invited him to join me, but he responded that he would prefer to stay home and lay on the couch with his dad, enjoying some television. Looking at his sweet face, I felt compelled to explain, "Baby, if not for people speaking up and questioning the workings of the city, we may not be able to afford for you to sit on the couch." He paused, looked at me earnestly, and said, "I want you to say that." And so I am. I share this story not just to illustrate the sacrifices that individuals make when they file a complaint or when they attend city meetings, but to highlight the responsibility that rests upon each of you as members of this ethics committee. While reviewing and analyzing the complaints before you, I urge you to consider the time, effort, and emotional energy that goes into submitting each one. Each complaint represents a voice seeking fairness and transparency. It is essential that you give these matters the same thought and consideration that it took the complainants to bring them to you. As a reminder to each of you, you are in control. Not the complainants, not the respondents, and not the attorneys. You have the power to ask for information and to request interviews. I urge you to utilize each. Throughout my 6 years of active involvement in our community, I have been asked repeatedly, with all that you do, what do you want to achieve? Each time, without hesitation, I respond, I just want the truth to come out. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would? Okay. That's all right. I understand. the committee calls Betty Conley.
Yes, my name is Betty Conley. I live here in Cal. And I just wanted to make a remark. I try to get involved with the city politics because I'm the president of CAS, and I have a bunch of seniors asking questions of stuff that's going on in the city. Never been to an ethics committee until the last one. And I was kind of confused and upset and all that was in my mind of how it worked, because I didn't know if you follow the same Robert rules as the council does, and the 3-minute is not supposed to be an exchange back and forth. And I really felt bad for the gentleman getting frustrated when whatever he was trying to say. So I'm like, is this an open thing that we do back and forth, or is this not an open thing? So right now, I just asked the secretary, and I believe she's the secretary, that our 3 minutes is we get to say what we want to say, and then we're okay. Because I was afraid that if I say something, somebody's going to come back, and I'm not that type that can really handle the stress, as you can see. But anyway, I want to thank you for the jobs that you're doing, and I hope that you do them honestly and thoroughly and fairly and the best way that you can do. It doesn't matter what board that you're on, you need to be honest and have integrity, and you need to be able to say, no, this is wrong, or yes, this is right. There's no gray line.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? All right. I'll close the committee from public comments and move on to item 4 on the agenda. The Ethics Commission will now go into executive session to discuss items 2A, B, and C in accordance with Texas Government Code Section 551.071. Meeting is called back to order. The first item that we want to address as we come back to public session is we would like questioning by our ethics compliance officer on item 2A.
Yvonne, do you mind coming up to the stand? You're not in trouble. Don't be nervous.
Hello, thank you.
So this is regarding the complaint filed by Mr. Zuniga. We just wanted to ask a few questions. The first question is, were you aware who he filed the complaint against? Are you aware of who he's filed the complaint against?
With this complaint?
The complaint filed by...
No, okay, so I'm confused. I thought this was about mine.
No, it's not.
Okay,
It's about a
no,
different one.
no. I know nothing about Zuniga's complaint. I will say, like, conversations, me and Councilmember Zuniga have had several conversations, and we've, when I was elected, and I've shared concerns regarding the status of the city. So somewhere along the line, maybe information was shared as far back as that. But as far as this complaint, I had no idea that he was filing one.
Okay. Have you had discussions with anybody who is a city staff or officer about Zuniga's complaint?
I don't talk to city staff at all. And what do you mean by officer, like another elected official?
Correct.
No.
Okay. So you're not aware of who he has filed a complaint against, who the accused is?
So when you say, am I not aware, like, I see 2 people are missing. And so the first meeting that you guys had was kind of chaotic. and I had recorded that whole session. And through a process of elimination, I definitely figured out it was probably Rubson recused himself, and so did Mario. And so through that, I assumed.
Okay, so our concern is that information from within the city is being leaked on complaints, and we wanted to know if anybody had given such information to you in conversation. Because if they have, it would be an ethical violation on their part.
Oh, okay. I mean, in that case, I don't talk to city staff.
Okay, and none of the elected officials?
None of the elected officials.
Are you aware of anybody from city staff or officials who has been discussing the complaint with anybody?
Absolutely not. And
Okay.
I kind of almost wish if staff knew something that they would speak up, but I would assume, according to the ethic ordinance, if staff was aware that they would have 15 days to file a complaint.
Sorry, question. Does she have to answer these questions?
No.
Curious.
She doesn't have to, no.
I'm just curious what the point of these questions are.
We're concerned that there are elected officials or city staff members who are committing the ethical violation of revealing confidential information of a pending complaint
Okay.
related to Zuniga's complaint that he filed. So we are doing a cursory investigation to see if that's worth investigating.
And the violation would not be against,
It's not against Yvonne. It would be
Yvonne. It
against
would be-
whoever is working for the city or elected within the city who revealed it. The confidentiality provision only applies to current officers and employees.
Okay.
Then why don't you ask those officials if they're the ones leaking it, right?
We're trying to find out if any officials
Yeah.
were. We don't know who it
So,
would be.
I will say,
Okay,
if
this
I-
is getting off topic. That's all
Yeah.
we wanted to know.
And I will say, like, a lot of the information as far as a complaint being legitimized was done by Mr. Sanford in his post that there were several of them. And one that he posted on the oversight page specifically said, and I think it was the next day or that day, that there was a complaint filed, and he did talk about Zuniga. So if that is a concern, I would say you're more than likely to find that, I guess, that issue within the commission and not so much out here. So I would hope that the commission would actually look at that too, because I am aware that Commissioner Sanford is really good friends with Bear Heiser, who is also really good friends with Travis Mitchell. So if there's any kind of complaints there or any kind of intermittent conversation, I think that you'll find that better placed within the commission.
That's all the questions we have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
and thank you for the reminder that, that our elected officials and our city staff, as well as the committee here, are not supposed to be speaking about any complaints that have been filed. So at this time, I would like to make a motion to instruct our ethics compliance officer to set the matter of 2A for a hearing. And this is regarding the complaint filed by Miguel Zuniga.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. Okay. So that will be set for a hearing, and that date will be, there will be a notice of that date later. Okay. Okay, let's have a vote on whether we are going to have a hearing.
Aye.
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 Okay. Motion's passed, and a hearing will be set on this matter. As far as item B, the complaint by Yvonne Flores-Kale, there's no action taken at this time. The committee is still considering the information. And then on C, there's no action taken. That issue is resolved. Okay. Now we'll move on to item 5. So we're going to consider, okay, Item 4 is going to be on the disposition of Zuniga. We have already or filed a motion for a hearing on that. And on 5, that's the Flores Kale complaint, and we are still considering that, and we'll meet again on that in the future. So now we move on to item 6. If there is no further business, I will move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
And meeting's adjourned.